All right, welcome back. And in this section, we're going to take a look at a commit that Kyle had made. This one's already actually merged with the curriculum, but it's about getting our ABC outline that we normally just auto-generate and put on the website into a PDF format as well. So this is something that I asked for. So Kyle, can you give us a rundown as to what this is doing and how it might affect our teaching?
I think we have a new face on camera too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
there's a Lance on here. Okay, so for background, for our watchers and for anyone who's not been here while we did all this, we had found early on when we started this class several years ago, and think about it, we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, you got
Wow.
me dragged into this nonsense in early 2014, and you
Wow.
had burned yourself out at the end of 2013, so that's how far
Yeah, so we're deep into this. So
pull up the Angular Bootcamp site. So
Yeah, that's a great
know what
idea.
we're talking about. I mean,
what-
you'll be amazed at how handsome the person is in the background when you pull up that site.
Okay, so what we had found out early on is that our customers, like, they really want to know what they're going to get, right? We'd like to just say, what your get's going to be awesome, trust us. And many of them do, actually surprised, especially ones who have already done a class with us, almost always just say, yeah, I know whatever it is, you're going to just bend it to meet our needs, so just yes, we'll take it. But many of the customers we meet are kind of like they're for the first time. They don't know us yet, so they can't trust us yet. And so it really helps them to know what they're going to get. Well, we had tried manually maintaining this outline of what was going to be in the class, and what we found is that manually maintaining one list to be hopefully in sync with another list is a great way to never have them in sync for more than a day out of every given 2-year period. And so instead, we made the notes from which we teach the class get automatically converted into the outline we put on the website about the class. Okay, so then there's a bunch of machinery on that.
So, and that's I can never remember the explanation files and the instruction files, the underscore whatever
right,
files
right.
that students don't typically see.
Right. So this is like a peek
class.
behind the curtain for anyone watching. So behind the curtain, we have this outline automatically generated. But in some cases, it's not. I mean, it's many folks will just look at the outline on the website. Others kind of want a document, something that they can print out and hand somebody. This is
Right.
what we're buying.
And you said this happened to you when?
Just very recently, I had someone ask for a PDF version of the outline.
Yeah.
What was it, Heather? Because
No, I'm
I
sorry.
actually had someone come.
Yeah.
Heather needed this because someone who had come to one of my classes actually needed a certificate essentially, and they also needed some documentations. Like here's
Sure.
what the student.
No, it's actually
learned.
we're finding that more and more folks are coming to us through reference, word of mouth now than we've ever had, and so folks are coming to us and they've never even been to our website.
Yeah, they're
so,
ready to buy.
And so they hadn't even seen the website.
But they need an artifact.
It's
so
send me something so I can put in a PO for it.
Yep.
Which is a great thing.
From the web page, can you show is
Yeah.
the outline on the page?
It is on the
web,
yeah.
Like which?
If you click topic outlines
Okay.
at the top, and then you click that one, and then you see it, and you can scroll through it, and it's pretty good. It's not perfect. It's not maybe
I
a
see.
perfect representation, but it's pretty close to what we actually cover.
The person specifically I was dealing with,
Yeah.
they needed to be able to forward the outline on to their management for
Yeah.
purchasing reasons.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a way to get them an artifact because we derived this from a
Yep.
fractured set of pieces of information. There wasn't a central thing that was just it.
Yeah, I mean,
so thus the ask.
So
Part
in
of the reason I was
desperation,
asking about
yeah.
this is because I needed it, and so I went here, copied this,
Copy-paste.
dropped it into a text editor,
Yep,
ran a bunch of
yep.
regexes against it, generated a thing, and then turned it into a PDF.
Right.
Yeah.
So where were you 3 weeks ago?
So, so basically, I just piled on another layer of the same machinery, and so let's just look at the diff for the machinery. So, what I want to see there is you see that line 13 tidy-v. So what that line is doing is that's saying, please throw an error and fail my build right away with an obvious message if the tidy tool has not been installed. That's what that. So tidy
Okay.
print your version is a way of saying tidy please exist. The next line is pug. If pug is not installed and running on this computer, because this all runs in a container on a CI server and all that, right?
This is all a bash script, though, right?
It turns out that we do a lot of highly abstracted programming with modern languages, and it's all duct taped together with bash scripts.
Oh no, I'm down. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm actually totally cool with this.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking is because, of course, I have a critique. Why didn't you just use the which command to see where tidy actually is on the system?
Well, because if I use the version thing, if I do have a problem, I will also know what version of tidy it didn't work on. So I kind of get two birds with one stone there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
This bash, it goes back for centuries. There's a million ways to do everything.
Yes.
Can we convert this to a makefile?
Wait, I know this one. No.
All right.
No. But we have some work not ready for discussion and demoing yet to make this a Bazel-driven process.
This Bazel's awesome.
Which will improve it. Will improve it enormously. Now, keep on the first draft
PDF
of that.
generation will be farmed out across thousands of virtual servers.
Well, no, keep on the first draft. The first draft of that is still going to use. It's still going to be Bazel orchestrating a lot of things that are Bash in the first cut of that. But yes, the answer yes, absolutely. This could be.
I need to do more of that.
Something better. Okay.
Okay.
So let's take a look here. So, in the old version, we just shoved the tidified version of some It's
and my ignorance, what is tidy?
Actually, is there a way to show? Can we just bring
let's
this file up?
do
Just
this
bring the
file.
up
This
in the
is-
IDE.
we're-
It's called
we're-
generate outlines.
We're
If you
committed
call
now, baby.
Generate outlines. Go down one. You want the one? Yeah, you want that one. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through how this process works. So if you could get where line 16 is up toward the top of the screen, because that's. So for those who have not done a lot of Bash.
Here is a lot of bash.
For those who have not done a lot of Bash, you might think this is a lot of a Bash. But for those who have done a lot of Bash, this is really not that much Bash.
True.
Because there are wizards among us in our industry who can build amazing things. But just reading through what this means. So line 16 means go up a directory, because this piece of tooling lives down a directory, so it's not polluting the top level of our list of files. And then find all the files with either of those names that are not in a subdirectory called skip. Because we have some parts of our curriculum that are things that are still in development, and we put the word skip in the name so we don't throw a bunch of half-done junk at our students. We try to only throw things that we're reasonably confident about at our students. So this finds all those files. Line 17 sorts them. Sorting them works because find is giving us back a list of paths, and we have numbered. We use numbers to put things in the right order. And so line 17 puts gathers all these little pieces of potential outline and gets me back all their file names in the right order that the outline should be.
By the way, in case it's not obvious to people who haven't seen a travesty like this before, the vertical bar at the end and the backslash at the end, that's the Unix pipe. So the results of line 16 are going to get piped into line 17. 17 is going to go into 18.
Yep.
The backslash at the end basically says treat everything with a backslash at the end of it like this is one giant long line. So from 16 down to 29 is all effectively on one line.
Now, I'd like to interrupt here.
20 is 28.
20.
We'll get there when we
Line-
get there.
So if you're,
It looks like it's missing the backslash. That's why I was saying.
Yeah,
you might be asking yourself, how did we get here? This is a conversation about Angular and Angular adjacent topics.
Is this a?
However, hang on. So,
Just the talking heads comes to mind.
yeah, so the reason I bring
This
that up
is not my
because-
beautiful Angular.
But this is part of the real stack of getting stuff done. Angular is people think oh I'm going to go off and be an Angular developer and I'll be able to make great things with that. You can.
And you can, yes.
You can, but whenever you start talking about solving a lot of very surprisingly complex problems for just creating an outline,
yes.
Whenever you think about scaling this across time, across use cases, across a large development and teaching team, it turns out it's actually surprisingly difficult to get that outline succinct, correct, and easy to generate automatically from code every time. And so, thus we find ourselves with some low-level tooling.
Yeah. Well, and this is where it pays off to have a lot of experience across many different tools, because although what you're looking at is not maybe the most beautiful thing to developers familiar with other newer things, it is very concise and deliberate, and it achieves what needs to be achieved in far, far fewer lines of code. I'd like to point out that pipe character, we're getting that soon in JavaScript.
Right.
We're going to get the ability to if you just imagine wrapping functions, right? They're kind of you wrap a bunch of function calls, they're in the wrong order. this puts the thing in the order the data flows. Putting your code in the order the data flows is awesome, and it's coming soon to JavaScript.
Yeah, if you're familiar with RxJS and the fairly recent .pipe method that was added to observables, it's in preparation for JavaScript itself gaining an equivalent to the Unix pipe operator. It'll look almost the same, but not exactly the same. And then all those .pipe and the functions that go inside of it, you'll be able to use them in a fashion very similar to this. Anyway, Kyle, I derailed you from explaining what all
we were
all
on
these
the
lines
second
do.
line.
Yes, we'll get there. Okay, so line 17 got us a bunch of path file names in the same order as we're going to teach the contents in class. Now these files are all Markdown files. That'll become very important. Okay, line 18 is a way of saying, and hear me out here.
I cannot wait to hear you explain xargs succinctly.
So xargs means take a list of files flowing into the standard input and call some function, call some other script, call some program on each of those as input. So for example, is that almost like a map operator?
Very cool, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty close to a map operator. And so trying to think, what on earth does line 18 mean? Or what does the -I braces mean, Bill?
Kyle, you tell us. You're here to explain.
It means
us.
you grab your local shell and you type man xargs and you search for -I inside.
You know, that doesn't work nearly as well as you would think it would.
Oh no, it works exactly as well as I would think.
You read the man page, then you read a bunch of Stack Overflow pages, and here's the key. When you really want to understand Bash, you have to ignore any web page that looks like it was written in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You got to go find old school web page. We're talking unformatted HTML. Back when, the wizards walked the earth and wrote web pages about how to do things.
Web pages were responsive because there was no other way to write them.
Right. Okay, I do not remember the meaning of the -I open close brace. It's just been too long. But the rest means use sh, which is the way of calling shell. So you call the shell, and then -c means here's the command to pass to shell. Now I know what the -I means. -I means here's the marker of where you're going to substitute in the file name. And so the little cat inside that part means cat is the program you call in Unix, Linux, Mac OS that says just print out the contents of this file. The semicolon means I want to run two commands. The thing after means echo an empty string. So practically speaking, the semicolon echo empty string, what that means is make sure there's a blank line at the end of this thing so you don't end up with the line of the last one stacking onto the line of the previous one.
So you're bashing in your bash right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the net result of line 18 is the input to this was a list of file names, and the output is the contents of all those files.
In one big string.
If you're yes. One big series of lines, because in the world of Unix,
everything is a string.
Everything is a series of lines of code coming down a pipeline. Okay.
By the way, if you're thinking to yourself, okay, whatever, man. One of my favorite quotes from many years ago about this stuff is that careers have been built off of understanding find and xargs, and I can easily believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that line of code. Now the curious thing is this. I could have done this in RxJS, right? Because this is really just like a pipeline, an Rx pipeline of strings. It could have been done that way. Okay. This would have been a merge map. This could have been a merge map. Okay, so
Node and
now line 19 means I only want the lines that have a hash, as they all say now, right? It's really a pound sign.
Octothorpe.
Followed by an octothorpe followed by a space. Because this is a Markdown file, and I want to throw away all the body content of the Markdown files. I only want the things that are headings. But that grep finds something anywhere. So practically speaking, if you had pound space subtitle typed out, it would match. So basically line 19 means throw away everything that's not a heading in the Markdown flowing through here.
So
No,
I'm
I'm
looking for all the hashtags?
Right, I'm looking for all the hashtags. It's actually processes.
You're specifically avoiding the hashtags because they wouldn't have
you're about
pound
to
sign
delete.
space.
Yeah,
Right,
Exactly.
that's correct. That's correct.
Now, I'm a little bit surprised, maybe you're about to get to this, I'm a little bit surprised that you're not simply looking for ones that are at the start of a line. It's like 1 to end.
I could have
pound
written a
signs.
little better regular
But
expression.
it looks like you're about to get there anyway with like 21.
We'll see what 20. We'll see what that happens there. Okay.
Oh, just you
okay.
wait.
Line 20, the dash V, strangely enough, means do the opposite in grepland.
It stands for void.
Void, yeah,
The
that's what it
void.
stands for, yeah. Avoid the one. So line 20 means I don't want the lines that had a word to do in them.
Is
Because-
that case sensitive?
Yes. By default, grep is case sensitive. You can tell it not to be.
But
it is.
But any good and righteous thinking programmer always puts to do in all uppercase. So
Okay.
okay, now
make an
it's
assumption.
getting good now. It's getting really,
We're
really
about
good
to talk
now.
about said.
So line
I never
21.
thought we would get here.
So line
All roads lead
21
to said, Bill.
means if it starts with a single pound sign. So the S is the substitution, right?
Substitute.
Regular expression. So substitute
Carrots, you know,
slash. So
starts
caret means
with-
right. Starts with pound sign space, and then the backslash is because we need to get that left paren
To make us a
through the string escaping mechanism into the regular expression.
Yeah.
Okay. Dot star means match anything. Backslash right paren means again get a right paren because that's how you put like an addressable group in a regular expression.
Right.
The slash means here's what we're going to change it to. So we're going to change those lines that had a single pound sign. So it's an H1 in Markdown land becomes an H4, a single space, and then the original text. Followed by a new line because the backslash at the end of line 21 is different than all the other backslashes at the end because it's inside a string. So that becomes a backslash becomes a new line, a couple of spaces, and then the letters UL.
What's the one there? /1?
That is
The grouping.
the capturing group. So
Yes.
the thing on the left-hand side where you
Yeah.
said dot star inside
Yep.
the
It's the-
escape parentheses,
Yep.
that is whatever that string
Yep.
was that you grabbed.
Gotcha.
So you're writing pug here. not
Yes,
HTML.
I'm outputting pug because
Because otherwise you have to like
So-
escape all your left and right angle braces.
we should do this
Yeah.
for in a
Yeah.
future episode. We should look back at how we used to do Angular 1.x, where
Oh,
we
gosh,
used pug for
Pug. Yeah, I
everything.
remember those
Well,
days
it's called
coming back.
Jade then, though, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And there's
That's
now
my entire
tooling available that's pretty easy to use that I think actually Monkey Patches CLI to let you use it. And it's funny, there's two communities. There's a community of people who say this is great, we should use this, but unfortunately the people writing Angular CLI are not in that community. So we don't get it in the box, but there is a way to add it. Okay, so continuing on here.
This, by the way, is like, I was thinking, man, we're yak shaving, but in reality, we're like putting hair back on a yak. This is like reverse yak
Yes,
shaving.
yes.
We're explaining how the
Yes.
yak got shaved.
Yes.
We are
It gets better
terrifying the yak.
because
Tune in some
what our
game.
Yak farming, perhaps?
how about this? A name for our show: Meta Yak Shaving.
This is like yak Rogaine.
Okay, so lines 23 and 24.
Yogaine.
These mean if it was an H2 in the original Markdown, then indent it a bit and put it inside an LI in the pug we're outputting, which itself has a UL.
Can you highlight the line he's actually talking about there?
Plus 23 and 24. Line 25 means if it's a
3 years ago, folks.
if it's
3
a,
years we've lived with this.
if it's an H3 in Markdown, it becomes an even further indented LI in the pug we're creating.
This is great.
Line 26 means if there's any deeper headings than H3, throw all those away.
I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
In your substitution, there, the sed will actually allow you to specify like a new line character, a return character. Why are you actually using physical return characters there instead of the escape sequences? Because you'd have to double up the backslashes? Maybe.
So I put this together very quickly.
Oh, okay.
And almost all of my real work in the last 15 years has not been anything remotely resembling any of these tools.
Okay.
That is
That
why.
is good enough. Works for me.
Okay, so
Have I mentioned I really want to do a talk on like advanced regular expression usage, in programming?
and I encourage you to submit that to any conference, and if you can get it
I keep
accepted,
submitting
I will
it to
attend.
every Angular
I will
conference, and they're like,
attend your
wrong
talk.
conference, dude. And
I
hand
will
it back.
cheer you. From the front row. Okay, line 27 is Kyle was having difficulty figuring this out and wanted to see a file on the disk to inspect to see if
That
it
is your
worked.
debugger.
So let's draw. Yeah. So line 27 is my debugger.
So that's tap. essentially.
Tap.
Effectively,
T is
yeah.
tap,
T
and I
is
wish
tap.
they would have named it T to show respect for our forebears. It would have been respectful of our forebears to name it T.
He brought you into
Right.
this world. He can
Right,
take you
okay.
out.
Well, I mean, it's been renamed like 8 times now. It went from tap to do.
And it
back
could
to
be
tap,
renamed again.
renamed T,
Okay.
exactly. And
Now-
you write your own operator now.
Okay, so
Someone needs to @bin Lesh right now.
Rename it.
Pug.
Who are you and how did you get this number?
Pug is the command line tool that takes incoming Jade or Pug syntax and spits out HTML.
Should we show people like a little?
Yeah, bring up the
clip of
Pug website. If you just Google
syntax?
Pug.js.
Oh, David's still out there. He hasn't hung up on us and run away. Good job, David.
Nope. I was trying to figure out how to put awk
You really have to do Pug.
into the whole
I don't
situation.
know.
I think the whole thing just got a lot better.
I think we should.
Hold on.
Let's
David
look
had
at the Twitter account of It's Doug the Pug. There's no risk in going to
This is
random
the Pug we're
Twitter
actually
account.
talking about.
David had a thought. What did you say, David? Can you put him on the?
I was trying to figure out, sed is often used with awk, and trying to figure out how to work awk into the conversation. But
Speaking of our forebears, Aho, Weinberger, and Kernighan, great men.
Yes,
all.
yes,
That's awk.
That's where the name comes from.
That is where the name comes
yes.
from. Although on the book, the awk book, their names are not in that order.
That
which
is- Well, that's because the book editor put them in alphabetical order.
ha. Okay.
I do get a little nervous about calling out forebears without investigating, because sometimes it turns out that you investigate a forebear and like, ooh. But anyway, okay,
The
so
Wagner
Pug,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
so is there an example of this?
Yeah,
I
syntax?
just
We don't know how
want
to
to see
call
what
it.
it looks like.
We just want to see what it looks like. What is it? Maybe go up. So you're in the API. Get out of the API. Just like
I
click
don't know how
Pug.
I got here.
Yeah, just go to the top, and it should make it easy.
This is where it takes you.
I thought on the
That's
right-hand side it had
gross.
examples.
Dogs.
No,
Okay.
that would be.
That is really not ideal. It is like much harder to get started than it used to be because they take you into the API of how to call the thing. Try reference. Maybe we'll get lucky. Language reference? Well, that's frustrating. We shouldn't take into
There
in
is
a
Pug
future episode. We should
Oh.
actually show doing Pug with Angular, and that would both be much more topical, and it would not be a diversion from.
If
the
you
script
click
we're
on
getting through.
Pug in the upper left-hand corner, does it take you anywhere useful? Of course not.
Where we started.
Yeah,
Never
that's
mind.
Really
Thank you.
weird. Okay, that's
This will never be seen by humans.
Yeah,
It'll be edited out.
unroll it. Oh, who knows? It might stay there. Okay, so now Lance asked why there's not a backslash at the end of line 28, and I think
It was
the answer
David,
is,
actually.
oh, was it David? I think
Yep.
there's actually
Yep.
supposed to be, but it just turns out that over time these tools become more accepting of imperfect syntax, and I would say apparently it figures out that ending backslash is okay, and let's not break it. So.
Oh, you put a space. You're doomed now.
Yeah, holding a blow. Well, it is Pug, so actually, one space can blow up the whole thing. Okay, so then line 28 says use the tidy tool.
That we made sure we had up on line
Yes.
13.
Tidy is the command line name of a tool called HTML tidy that takes very ugly HTML and makes it very clean HTML.
It does not appreciate Angular templates at all.
Well, Angular templates are not HTML. They are an HTML-like language.
I
They're
know.
not HTML. Yeah.
Hence why
Yeah.
tidy is like, what?
So it gets better though. So what we get out of Pug is not quite clean and tidy enough HTML to flow through like the rest of our website mechanism. But just running it through tidy is good enough. So running through that show body only, that throws away like the stuff at the top and bottom of the file that we don't need anyway. So that just way of like throwing away the head and this ending HTML tag. And then that said yes. Then -i, what does -i mean? -i means to accept and fix certain kinds of problems. But when it does so, it sometimes you get a problematic return value. Instead of getting a 0 as the exit code, you get a it gives you an exit code of some number that means I fixed some stuff for you, but it's fine. Okay?
So that's that's the
right.
or.
So those set of parens absorb that non-zero exit code and turn it into just like printing nothing at the end, which is fine, and make it a 0 exit code so the whole thing doesn't stop and blow up. So that's a catch. So in your RX analogy, that's how we do catch 30 years before catch.
By the way, for any Bash aficionados who actually are watching along at home and are screaming at their monitor,
you can at us.
There
you can
are
at me.
absolutely more bionic ways to do all of this.
Yeah.
We don't care.
No, I do care. If a bash aficionado @s me, I will not be upset. I might not change it, but I will not be upset. Okay. Then the final result of that is stuffed into this HTML file.
Right there.
And
The greater than sign,
yes.
Angular Bootcamp outline.
Okay.
And
I
this
have a
takes us
question, though.
and this takes us to where we were until recently.
So now you're caught up
So
to where we
your
were.
question.
So I see all those sed commands are converting the headers to a different
Yes.
type of head. Where is in this are we throwing away the text from the explanations?
That is on line
We're only grabbing
19.
19.
only grabbing the header.
Line 19.
Thank you. All right.
Now,
In other words, we're throwing it away by only keeping lines.
Right.
that have
I
rounds
I
in
had
them.
forgotten about that.
so, and I'd like to put it, so
Filter.
this code is deeply behind the scenes code. This is the kind of code that happens if someone who has been using a whole bunch of tools for many years is just executing in anger, right? I can tell you what that did, even though you can see that I touched it 3 years ago. That's because I have a whole lot more than 3 years of making tools like this do things that need to be done. I would never do this in a customer project.
Well, I bring it up on day 2 of Angular Bootcamp.
Yeah.
On a customer project,
This happens in Angular.
this would
Bootcamp.
have to be explained, commented, spread out, made maintainable, made testable, and so on. And that's okay. It's okay that
Which
this
means
code
it
is
would
like
have
this.
been rewritten in like Perl.
Well, that Perl would have been better, because
Yes.
at least would have been one language instead of 5 that's in use in this one screen of code. Actually, if I was going to use this, if I was going to do this today, maybe like if we were
5 days ago.
if we were starting this today,
Sure.
we might pick up Node,
Yeah.
read the stuff, and use an RxJS pipeline for this.
Can I do that?
Can you do
Can
that?
I do that with the Bazel stuff?
Well,
Side topic, sorry.
yeah. We really want to use the Bazel functionality.
Well,
not
I already have
yeah.
to use Bazel with Bash. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
all
so
joking
we're-
aside, though,
yeah.
I think
We haven't got to line 31
those
yet.
of us who haven't written a lot of code like this might actually be surprised at how much more code it will take, even with modern programming languages,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this
to pull this off.
this would not fit on one screen
Right.
if we rewrote this today with modern practices.
I mean, we can
went
laugh
out
and
on
poke
this.
fun and talk
Yeah.
about how ugly and complicated
Yeah.
and look at all those backslashes
Yeah.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But the truth is, this
Yeah.
is an incredible amount of
Yeah.
power in a small amount
yeah,
of space.
the things we do today are better in so many ways than what we did in the old days. But with tools from the old days, we created a lot of value
Yeah.
in a hurry without very many lines. And it was kind of awesome then, too. Okay, so let's get to line 31, which is the point of this whole branch. Because I made some little changes to get things a little more ready. The whole point of this is, let's just use Chromium, which is like the open source heart of Chrome, to take that HTML and print it to be a PDF. So
I did not know that you could do
That's
that,
cool.
a command line thing from Chrome. That's really wicked.
So headless means don't try to pop up a GUI, which is important because we're running inside a container. Again, because we're inside a container, this is a long-term irritation. And I know why it is, but it's still an irritation. Everything in your Docker container is running as root.
And
Now-
hence the no sandbox. law.
Right, and so in a sense it's okay to be running as root because it's all in the container anyway, right? The container is providing the security. You don't need the Unix.
Right.
But many complex programs get very angry if you run them as root. And so that no sandbox, yes.
Yeah.
Chromium, or Chrome if we have that installed, will not work as root unless you tell it no sandbox. So it's not that I want to get rid of the sandbox, it's that I want it to actually work when running as root inside a container. Now, if I had had more time, there's actually, I think there's a free web service somebody operates, as long as you don't call it too often, that you can just post a bunch of HTML to it, and it does this, and it gives you back the PDF. So I could have done a wget and not had to install Chromium, but this worked, and so I moved on.
So after all
yeah.
of this, you might be thinking, the PDF must look like an illuminated medieval manuscript with all of
If you,
this
did,
work.
well, if
But
you scroll down
I'm
and read
betting
this
no.
a little bit, Paul.
Where?
Flip back to scroll the top pane there. I think I put the URL in. Yes, you can copy and paste that URL, and that URL.
It's in a bucket.
It's gonna, yeah. It's a terrible URL. It's I just shoved it in a S3 bucket just to get it temporarily available. It's public. There's no security on this outline because it's the same content that's on the website, and it's currently ugly. But this is kind of like a way we do things here, right? So first we take a thing that we want and we do it once by hand, right? And then we do some kind of really rough version, like what I did to make it working automatically. But now that we're kind of bootstrapped on this process, someone who didn't have as many pieces of knowledge available to like pull all these pieces together could do something like, hey, what if I just did a little bit of bash to prepend a style tag to that, right?
Sure.
What if I prepended a block of HTML, postpended a block of HTML, and then threw in a style tag, and then started writing some HTML in those? And so now Paul, who manages this curriculum, can choose a victim and voluntold, perhaps an intern. We have a lot of really smart interns every year here, to go make this beautiful and have like some good stuff at the top and bottom and some good formatting.
Sweet.
So yeah,
So I didn't see,
and that's how we roll here at Oasis Digital.
I did not see how we went from here it is living on this, containerized.
You're trying to say
server
how to get onto the web?
to the web.
If you just look at the diff, it'll be obvious.
The
Yeah.
bucket pipeline.
Yeah, in the pipeline.
Somewhere in
line,
here.
line 24.
Line 24. You just shove it
Yep,
over.
shove it up there. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, any questions?
There will be a quiz.
So what if somebody saw this and they have a large legacy system built using Bash, awk, sed, Perl, regular expressions, and so on, and they contacted us to consult and work on that system? How hard would we laugh?
Oh, it depends entirely upon the obsceneness of the amount of money they're offering.
It would have to be pretty obscene. But if somebody was in a sufficient bind and they had this problem, then they probably should call us.
The truth is, I have done a lot of this stuff in
Yeah.
a lot of different environments.
Yes.
Bash,
Yes.
the original Bourne shell, C shell,
Yep.
Horn shell, all
Yep.
those, all the variations of that, and of course the things that came after them, the Perls
Yep.
and the Pythons and all that. And I really enjoy this kind of work. It can be extraordinarily satisfying because
you do this much
you are
work.
wielding some amazingly
Yes.
powerful tools.
Yeah.
Yep. And often.
Yep.
In the service of assisting people who have no clue how this world works.
Yep.
And so in the past they may have had like an army of minions to accomplish some task,
Yep.
and you're like, hold on a second, here you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could think of like Unix command line tools as an army of minions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
very,
was that
very
a-
rewarding.
So thank you for watching and
Yes.
enduring this.
Hope you enjoyed our Angular. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Let's wrap this segment and maybe start another one.